in a physics or chemistry textbook, it would say currently unrealized ability, potential. How many of you have heard the term unrealized potential? They have potential. How many of you have heard that? Raise your hand. Let me see. How many of you feel like you have untapped potential? I feel like I'm missing out. I have some potential still. How many of you feel like a club you're in or an organization you're in has untapped potential? I feel that way all the time. I'm sitting in a club and I see someone performing, speaking, doing table topics, and I think this person can be cultivated to become magnificent, to become something even better. And I go further and I think, wow, if that person got better, this club would get better. And if this club got better, we'd be more attractive to members. And we'd bring in even more people to our club, all because of potential. When we talk about building new clubs, I want you to think about potential as a baseball, sitting on top of a hill at the very top. You're at the bottom of the hill on this side. If you can climb that hill and push the ball, gravity will make all the potential release and it will flow and it will go further than you could ever imagine. All you have to do is climb the hill and push the ball. That's what sponsoring a new club's all about. You want to get to where you push the ball and then let the potential take over. You don't want to be there chained to the ball, pushing the ball. You don't want to be the engine for that ball. The ball already has its own energy source. I want to talk about my experiences starting a club in Central Florida in a suburb of Orlando called Claremont. It's a tiny little town. It's where my home club was when I first started. I walked into the room for the first time and there's 50 members in this room in a crowded church. 50 members in one club. I quickly learned that the district was pushing to split that club. That's a common thing that happens when a club gets too big. They think, well, we'll split it into two clubs. Then you have two clubs that are 25 each. The thing was, this club of 50 people was very tight knit and it wasn't about to split. If it would have split, we probably would have lost members, just the way it was. We had a different idea. Let's go to the edge of town, very edge, and start a new club. Not split it, not take members from it, but let's use our old club as a source of energy. Let's bring the people there. Let's bring them over to our new club and use them to jumpstart this club. And once we have all the members, we'll be done. We will not use our members from the original club any longer. Everyone seemed to be on board with this idea. The club even paid all the fees for this new club, and they became our sister club. After we found a room, which is one of the hardest hurdles actually of meeting in person, is finding a room. Our first order of business was to make a list of things that scare, intimidate, and turn off potential members. There are lots of things that scare members for lots of reasons, and we're not going to be able to satisfy everybody every ounce of the way. What we can do is narrow our focus. When I walked into Claremont Toastmasters, I was the youngest person in the room by about 25 years because no one in that club had ever thought to recruit people that looked different than them. So it was old white women. That's what the club was. We had a diverse community of young, middle-aged, and older people. It is Florida, so there's a lot of old people. We'll just get that out of the way. It happens. It's Florida. That's where the doormat to heaven, they like to call it. It's where people go to retire. But there's a lot of people there, and we had untapped potential. We were going to tap that potential in every single facet of growing that new club. We started with advertisement, right? That's what you have to think. Like Hazel was talking about, what's your brand? What's your identity? How are you going to convince people to come there? And we were not interested in bringing Toastmasters in our club. Toastmasters will come to your club no matter what. They love Toastmasters. They're already in it. We're interested in bringing new blood, new people, people who have never, ever experienced Toastmasters before. And how do we do that? With advertising. What's the first rule of public speaking? Know your audience. We got to know our demographics. We actually use the census, the United States Census, to look up our demographics of the area, to know the general income of the area, to know the racial makeup of the area, to know the religious makeup of the area, to understand what people were in the area that would be interested in joining Toastmasters. And we came up with targeted solutions for advertising for each group. There are several retirement communities within a 5-mile radius of where this club meets. We made up flyers and advertisements that talked about building a social life and having a social life, because retired people don't need career skills anymore. What they need are friends. They just retired, they just moved to Florida, they want friends. Well, guess what? This new club is where you're gonna make friends. You're gonna have a ton of friends, because we're gonna bring them all in here. You're gonna meet them all, and you're gonna have all the friends you could ever want. It's social, it wasn't educational. I know those of us in this room love the educational aspects of that, but there are people who join Toastmasters just to be social and just to have friends. And we wanted to make sure we were inviting those people. There is a Section 8 housing unit within 5 miles of that area. And we thought, what do the people who live there want most? And they want upper mobility. Those are the people we're going to target with resume clinics, with education, with the idea that you can move up in your career by joining an organization outside of your job. The idea of networking, learning to network, meeting somebody who might be able to hire you in the future. That was the idea to do for them. We went pretty far into this. There's a lot of churches in the area, and I actually got to know all the churches pretty well, because when I was looking for a room, I went to the churches and asked if they had meeting space. And all of them turned me down, except for one, of course. And every time I got turned down, I said, that's okay, but would you be willing to post this flyer in your church and let people know that we exist and where we're at once we get chartered? And every single one of them said yes. If you ask for something big and they say no, ask for something little. They can still help you advance. And they did. They did not let us down. Members came from those churches that came in, and it actually helped the church that we were meeting in. Some of them joined the congregation there. The next most important thing is a kickoff meeting. I hate calling it a kickoff meeting. I hate that. I like calling it a kickoff party. A party. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. What we decided to do was to make it a spectacle. Balloons, signs, a food truck. We didn't even have to pay for it. You just ask a food truck to come out and sit out there, and it makes it look like a party's going on, and people go buy tacos throughout the meeting. It cost us the cost of helium, which was expensive, but that's what it cost us to get people to come. Then we didn't open the doors until 5 minutes before the meeting opened, so that people gathered outside. It looked like something was going on. There were people everywhere because we didn't open the doors. You let people come in and sit down, and nothing looks like is happening there. It didn't look like a carnival. But if people are standing outside waiting in line, people driving by are thinking, what is that? What's going on there? And that's what we decided to do. We made it a spectacle, and we did it every single week until we chartered. We made it a spectacle. We decided to meet every week until we chartered, and then after we chartered, we reduced how much we were meeting, just so that it felt consistent. If someone forgets to go to a meeting 1 week, it's easier to have another one lined up the next week than have to wait 2 or 3 weeks. I've noticed that in charter meetings, Toastmasters love to have a speaker talk only about Toastmasters. I propose that we stop doing that. You have a regular 5 to 7 minute speech about Toastmasters, the wow effect of it, but then have a 10 to 12 minute speech right after that of a fantastic speaker who talks about something other than Toastmasters. They talk about something they're passionate about, that the crowd will be passionate about. And then when your potential members are sitting there, they say, hey, I can join this organization and be like that guy. This guy that just gave me an inspirational speech. We talk a lot about culture. I love culture. Culture of a club is its potential. That's where potential comes from. What do I mean when I say culture? I mean, how does the club act? How do they feel? What do they go about their day doing? As soon as we got enough members to charter, all of the people that helped me charter it, the old members, we stepped down from our officer positions and we held an officer meeting. And we elected 7 new officers out of new members, all chartered members. And we said, you 7 will form the culture of this club. And if members don't like the culture of this club, they will have an election the next time and we will change the culture of the club. And that's how you get to a culture that you like, is by mixing and mingling and figuring out what you like. We made every single person feel special. We made them feel like every accomplishment they did mattered. Icebreaker, standing ovation every time. Icebreaker, good job. We love icebreakers. Thanks for speaking. First time doing table topics, standing ovation every single time. If it's your first time doing something, we're going to get up on our feet. We're going to be energetic for you. And we're going to make you feel like you are the grand champion of everything. Every single thing. It's really amazing what you can do with a little bit of enthusiasm and a little bit of potential pushing the ball down the hill. There's one more thing I want to encourage new clubs to do. Make your club have a social aspect, even via Zoom. Have something social, have a cocktail hour. We used to go to dinner immediately following every club meeting, and that's where I sealed the deal on almost every single charter member that we had, because it didn't feel like a sales pitch anymore. It felt like 2 friends talking about the power of Toastmasters. And we sat down at dinner over some hot buffalo wings and a cold beer. And while our lips were on fire and we were trying to quench the thirst with a cold beer, we talked about what Toastmasters could do for them. And that's where people sold. I would bring applications in my pocket, fold it up in quarters, pull it out, wrinkle it out, and let people sign right then and there, write a check. I'd take credit cards. We'll do it all. We'll do it all for you. Potential. It's all about potential. That club right now in Four Corners, Florida, has 0 members who were previously Toastmasters before the club existed. All of their members, 25, I think at this time, are people who wouldn't have had Toastmasters without that club existing. All 7 other officers were elected in contested elections, and they have been every single time we've held elections, which is twice since the club charter. We did that by becoming the background character in our own story. We set our egos aside and said, this is not our club. This is a club that we're going to take the ball and we're going to push it. We're going to push it. Once it starts rolling down the hill, we're going to let it go. And we're going to let it do its own roller coaster thing. And we're going to watch it and enjoy it. And that's what we did. And Four Corners Toastmasters is doing great because of that. And I think that all of you have the same potential to start your own club, to boost your current clubs, to boost yourselves. Just set aside your ego, find your potential, and push the ball down the hill. Mr. Toastmaster.